In this video, I'm going to be reviewing my Rothco Jungle Boots. Now, I wanted these Jungle Boots because they were the right price at the right time, and I didn't want to spend $200 to get a pair of Jungle Boots that offered the same characteristics I was looking for, but maybe a couple more bells and whistles. I just did not feel that a $200 pair of Jungle Boots was going to give me more than this $45 pair of Jungle Boots, especially when all I was looking for was a way to experiment with as close to the original design as possible to see if these actually would suit my needs more. Now, I wanted to be able to work in climates that were very similar to Vietnam, where you're constantly exposed to moisture, and needed something that was going to be able to drain while going through, watery areas, that was going to be able to breathe, that was going to articulate and be easy to, unclog of all the mud. That was always a problem. So those three important characteristics, the breathability, the drainability, and the durability that is legendary of the original Jungle Boot, and the ease of unclogging it without losing traction. Those were the main attractions. So I wasn't going to spend $200 to get that when I could get it from these, especially from the reviews that I had seen and read. It did just as good. So, with that said, that's why I went with Rothco instead of like a Belleville or an Ultima. But when I first got my pair, I got in my normal size. And I had to settle for 7 wide because these are actually bigger, and when I first tried on the normal size that I would usually wear, it felt like my toes were being cut off because my toes only came up to about here, because they're designed for you to be able to wear like 2 layers of wool socks, thick wool socks, and be able to walk in them, right, with fully swollen feet. Well, that was to help with breathability, but I didn't really have that issue, so I ended up having to scale down the sizes, which was fine. But also, these things don't come with insoles. And let me show you what it looks like on the inside when you first get them. So I have a pair of black ones here that I broke in, and I just closeted in for if and when these things, fell apart. I would need a backup pair, right, for the interim. So you have this little sticker right here that's kind of like a faux leather, just a little sticker that says like Made in China back here. And the inside, you can see it's full leather, but you have a little bit of like nylon or some kind of canvas there that's kind of holding the drain holes in place. And you have like this piece of leather here, and you can see where the glue is here. That's kind of securing the layers together. It just kind of spilled over and soaked into that layer. So I'm guessing that's canvas or maybe some kind of nylon. I'm not really sure, so I don't really know. But you can see the leather here is not tanned, on this side at least. But that's just this leather right here. So there's definitely coated with something. I'm just not sure. I'm not really a shoe expert or anything. But this is what the inside looks like. And I didn't get an insert at first, so it was like walking on a 2x4. And really, these things are not flexible when you first get them because it's legit leather. And it's triple stitched where it needs to be triple stitched. They didn't skimp on the design. It's just a mass-produced Jungle Boot, right? So I was actually okay with that. But what I did, because of how uncomfortable it was to walk without any kind of insole, I wanted to go with as true blue as I could with the original design and get something that was honeycombed, kind of like the original Jungle Boot. I got some German ones from Sportsman's Guide, and they were like plastic, airy Jungle Boot, or not Jungle Boot, but they were plastic, airy insoles, and they were just so small that actually my feet spilled over, and it just really blistered my feet pretty bad. But I liked the concept of it, so I went on Amazon and got these honeycombed insoles, and you can get like 3 pairs of these for like 15 bucks. So there's no real reason not to. They don't hold on to water at all. They're almost made for like water shoes, and of course they breathe very well because, they're honeycombed, they're vented. But you need to take them out more often than not, and you need to clean out the inside because you can see residue foot powder in here. And some of these areas are still a little clogged with, wool, excess wool, dog hair maybe, and, just stuff that you get on your socks and maybe on your feet. So this is the end result. So This one still has its original sticker. It's just a little discolored, kind of frayed a little bit, just kind of ugly. And you can see all these little spots here where the honeycomb holes are, where it just collects up hair with sweat and everything else. And it's been through, 4 seasons, so it's going to look a little grody in here, a little nasty. But you can see that front vent hole, or little drain hole, kind of separating from the canvas a little bit, or the canvas is separating from it. But you can see it's a little bit discolored from all the sweat and water from constantly draining and pushing up against the drain holes. But other than that, there's no real evidence of rot or anything, so this piece right here definitely did its job. And I don't know the point of the sticker back here, but I don't know. It's not rotting or anything, and it seems to coincide with this, how it's just right here. This is the size of the sticker itself, so I just found that kind of funny. That's coinciding with that piece right there. And again, got the other one here. There's no more cushion here. There used to be a bit of cushion in the heel. Not anymore. It is like gone. All that's gone. But in this one, no more sticker. There's just a little glue patch that used to be holding it on. Just pretty nasty, and a little bit of hair too. Let me see if I can get that chunk out. Pretty nasty. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's what happens when you wear boots, all the time, and they're just going to get nasty, right? You can see the front drain hole is a little bit oxidized, which is, whatever. And it's a little discolored there, but the canvas isn't really peeling away all that much. It's just not being held on anymore by the rivets or the riveted drain holes in a couple of areas, and it's mostly the front ones that seem to be kind of going out. But the leather is still holding up very good. It's not like it's rotting or discoloring too bad. It just shows that it's had a bit of sweat on it, and overall it's holding up very well. So now let's go ahead and look at the outside now that we've seen the inside. Definitely recommend you get your own insoles, but value added for sure. These boots aren't really going to wear all the same. The stitching on all this has held up incredibly well. There's no stitching that has been compromised throughout all the usage and the fraying or the scratching and everything. Just here, this surface area kind of frayed a little bit from being scratched and stuff by, some pretty hostile, thorny environments that I've been in. But overall, the leather is done very well. It's just maybe fraying a little bit here. The nylon may be fraying a little bit. But other than that, there's no compromise of the integrity of this boot. Now, I don't know if this is actual compromise, where this layer on the outside has kind of come off, but I have treated it all with mink oil, and it needs another treatment before I put these away, but I wanted to get this review out. But you can see the leather's kind of compromised here, where the outside layer is kind of coming off, and the heel here is kind of separating a little bit. But this actually happened within the first month of me having these, and it really hasn't advanced or gotten worse at all. And it's over here too, but you can tell that this side really not all that bad, right? There's almost no wear there, but it's once you get to the toe and all the heavy articulation spots that it actually starts showing its age, right? Kind of the same with this one, but instead it's out here that it starts showing, right? Not all boots are going to wear the same all the time. And again, these areas that are kind of compromised of the outside layer, but drain holes, good condition, not really all that bad, right? And this one has like no peeling away from the outsole at all. So again, all the stitching is good, and no fraying even. It's actually in very good condition, this right foot boot. So next, we'll move on to the outsole. The outsole is in relatively good condition considering how many miles I put on these things. So let me go ahead and pull one of these less used ones. Well, this one isn't good because this piece is like well rounded and stuff. I don't know what happened to that. I don't know if they ground that down or what, but definitely more rounded than even these ones are. These ones are actually still pretty sharp. So that's more like what you're going to get. It's going to be sharp. You might have a little bit of excess rubber here because it wasn't formed like perfectly. It's just in a little mold or whatever. And they put it in there. You might have a little pieces of rubber connecting, like down here. Have little flaps or whatever. But let's go ahead and get these side by side. Kind of show the old with the new. So it did lose a little bit of size, but most of it, it just got like tenderized from the mountains and the trails and all the crap that it was going through. So let's see if I can get that evened out. So yeah, it's lost a little bit of size on some of these, but overall, not that bad, especially the heel. I'm pretty impressed with the heel overall. It's been rounded a little bit, but it's like they did a pretty good job designing these, where this is a normal area where your foot's going to impact, so it's like the strongest portion, and you definitely notice it because it's like walking on bricks. And you can tell this is reinforced because it kind of bubbles up under here where the treads are, just kind of rounded. So they know this is going to be a big impact point, so it's like a reinforced heel area down here, and it's just very sharp. And once you impact this, wow, it feels like you're walking on it, like a 4x4 or a 2x4 or whatever. Now, the difference that I noticed over time is that when I first got these, they were incredibly stiff. Sorry about that, I'm kind of making a mess over here. So like this, it doesn't articulate very easily. It's not very easy to get this to articulate, you know, just with a finger. And especially here, you're not going to get this to articulate at all. That steel shank is still pretty strong. Now, maybe the steel shank is actually kind of worn a bit, but you can see it's definitely got a bias to where it's actually gone up, but it's so easy to manipulate now. Even here, I can actually get this to bend, and it's really not that hard to get them to articulate. So the saying is true. Once you get a piece of, or once you get a leather boot broken in and worn in, it's going to be very comfortable, and this is a very comfortable boot to work in. So I can definitely attest to that. It was very surprising. I didn't know how true that statement was. I figured, like, me being spoiled by the modern, you know, sort of leather boots that I was issued would kind of throw that saying out the window. I figured, why go back to this if we have something that's just as good, right? Well, I think that this older concept actually holds up just as good as the modern concepts. But like I said, if you're not used to these, it's going to feel like you're walking on a 2x4 at times. But when you're on unstable grounds, these boots do pretty good at keeping you pretty stable. So I'm actually quite impressed with them. It's been a very good experience. You know, no matter what you're using them for, I can't really say anything bad about this $45 pair of boots. It's been a very good experience, and I definitely would consider buying them in the future. I've just moved on to other ones because, you know, that's what I do in YouTube. So I'll go back to these in the future, but they're definitely going to be ready to be used in the future again until they actually do fall apart. And I might do a video down the road, but overall, I'm pretty happy with them. So I can't really say anything bad about them other than they may not be the prettiest, they may not come with all the bells and whistles, but I like them. I think that is a good price for, you know, a pair of boots that you might treat like crap. So why spend $200 on something that you are just going to beat to death when you could buy 4 of them and get them to last twice as long? I just don't see the point. But I'd rather have 4 pairs of boots that'll last 2 years than 1 pair of boots that's going to last about the same time as, you know, one of these $45 pairs of boots. You might debate that and say, well, you get what you pay for. I'm not really seeing it in my experience. I think that these are holding up pretty well, and I don't really see an advantage of spending more money for something that's going to give me the same characteristics and, you know, may give me a little bit more life. But again, when I can buy 4 of these and these have already lasted me 8 months, I don't really see the point. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below, and you guys have a good one.